Well, we are Company E of the 2nd Wisconsin Association of Civil War Reenactors. The 2nd Wisconsin is representative of the 2nd Regiment from the state of Wisconsin who volunteered for the American Civil War. And it was organized in 1861. It was the first Wisconsin unit that signed up for 3 years. As the first Wisconsin, at that point they thought it was the war was going to be over in 3 months, so they only signed up for 90 days. And so we're Company E, so each regiments are made up of 1,000 soldiers and 10 companies, 100-man companies. So we are Company E, indicative of the Oshkosh Volunteers. The Oshkosh Volunteers, they call them the Oshkosh Volunteers because they were made up of mainly firefighters. And so we represent those men. So this company is based out of Green Bay. And while we do represent the Oshkosh Volunteers and we do participate in events in Oshkosh, at least one event, we usually go down for their Memorial Day procession each May and participate in that to honor those that served before us. So I've had an interest in the Civil War probably since I was a young lad. I had probably read books, read Badge of Courage, watched videos. In the late 80s, early 90s, we considered that the heyday of Civil War reenacting, the golden age, I guess you could say. There was a lot of videos and movies that came out, the movie Glory, the movie Gettysburg, as well as other miniseries all throughout the early 80s into the early 90s. And I'm sure I probably watched one of them and was just in awe. And then I learned that my great-great-grandfather and my great-great-great-uncle, my great-great-grandfather and his 3 brothers all were conscripted into the 50th Wisconsin Regiment in 1865. Well, to some degree, I would say longevity plays a part in it, but it's also you are voted in by your colleagues. So that's unlike how it would be an appointed position by command as it was in the Civil War. In our company, we're an association and we really try to elect our leadership. We have both civilian leadership as well as we have military leadership. The civilian leadership manages kind of more of the business of the organization, and our military leadership, it manages the events and especially the military impression. So our military impression, we have a captain who is our military commander of the association. We have a lieutenant. We have a position as an honorary position of first or a second lieutenant. And we also have then the sergeants, first sergeant, second sergeant, and 6 corporals. And they are elected on a staggered basis. We have an annual meeting, so the captain's a 3-year role, lieutenant is a 3-year position, and then the sergeants are 2-year positions. I was elected in December. Prior to that, I was a corporal for about 10 years. So I really kind of worked my way up, I guess you could say, and that's where the longevity, as you mentioned, really plays a factor, that you develop that trust with the men surrounding you, that they can come to you when you have questions, and that's one of the rewards, I guess you could say, or maybe it's a punishment, because now you have to really know your stuff. Absolutely, and even in those roles, you approach it very humbly, saying thank you for placing your trust in me, but also saying I'm going to step up my game, and I am going to be learning. You have to continue to learn. You really, to have a space for ego, well, that could exist. You really try to temper that down and recognize that it's always an opportunity for growth and learning. And you can get into manuals, you can get into aspects of the hobby that perhaps you wouldn't really even think of. Logistics, for instance, or we were just having a conversation about the color guard is another that you don't really think very specifically. They don't talk about that in regular books or novels, but you'd have to go back into military guides and manuals to really figure out the intricacies of that type of those specifics. So you continue to develop yourself even in the midst of this hobby. Well, and when you really think about it, the logistics, one of the reasons why the Union won the Civil War was because it really developed a lot of processes for logistics. How do you ensure that every single man has 60 rounds of ammunition? How do you make sure that there's enough coffee and hardtack and salt pork and any other of the accoutrements that may break or happen to need to be replaced? That takes a lot, and especially even then troop movements in themselves. So it's it's so much that goes on behind the scenes. So even here as a hobby, well, we might not necessarily be doing a lot. You know, people always think of reenacting, they think about the battles. Well, there's a lot that needs to go into that to ensure that we're giving an accurate impression and that we are safe, because these are firearms that we are working with. While we are shooting black powder, it still is important that we are safe. Overall, I'm the third in command of the company, below the captain and the first lieutenant, and technically the second lieutenant as well, so fourth in command. But I am the highest ranking enlisted officer, and as such, as you were mentioning with your prior service, that there is a lot of responsibility. And things go well or they don't go well, it's going to be you.